Welcome back. This is episode 228 of the Veterinary Business video show. In this episode we'll learn about a couple of amazing new technologies that have the potential to transform veterinary practice, and we'll hear some thoughts about current salary trends for vets in North America. We'll ask whether you prefer the good news or the bad news first. We'll see how to usher the fear-free concept into your career and your practice, and I'll offer you my quick business tip for this episode. I'm John Sheridan and this is the video show from Veterinary Business. One of the hot veterinary business topics in recent months has been related to telemedicine, the situation regarding VCPR, that's the nature of the veterinarian client-patient relationship, which in the UK is usually defined as animals under their care, and in which there's an ethical requirement for a hands-on relationship between the vet and the patient. That definition suggests that a physical examination by the clinician is essential. On the other hand, the latest developments in information technology indicate that electronic data collection and interpretation can on occasions be more effective and more accurate than the current human equivalent. Here's a clip in which David Bartram explains how.
There are several new technologies that are coming into both human medicine and veterinary medicine that have the potential to transform veterinary practice and the way we practice medicine in the future. For example, genomic technologies, the ability to identify the genes that cause different disease, the ability to edit genes to help to protect animals against disease. There are technologies based around artificial intelligence whereby we can bring in information from multiple different sources and different devices that might be connected to animals and apply data analytics and machine learning to that to develop actionable insights, so things that people can actually do in response to those analytics that can change the level of wellness of the animal. So perhaps we can actually identify diseases much earlier as a consequence. So those are just some of the changes.
Now let's see who's on the video show Soapbox. The vet on the soapbox today is Cody Creelman, the cow vet from the United States. I've selected a clip from a 30-minute podcast presented by Cody in which he responds to a question about veterinary salaries in North America. The currency may of course be different in your part of the world, but the issues he mentions are very similar wherever you practice.
Within the market that I'm in right now, and certainly salaries is very geographically dependent. I've talked with a lot of different veterinarians from a lot of different areas across North America, and salaries are all over the map. There's pockets within rural US where I've heard veterinarians, their first year out salaries are in that $35,000 US range, which is like $1 million Canadian. It's not quite that bad. All the way up to some really competitive areas where veterinarians are getting like $40,000 signing bonuses to come on board. Mostly those are in like the small animal corporate type practices. And certainly there's a lot of baggage attached to a $40,000 signing bonus, including very long contracts and a not very nice path out of those contracts if one so chooses to get out of one. Within the Alberta job market right now, so where the majority of our practices are, most starting wages for a new grad coming out would be in that usually $75,000 to $85,000 Canadian range. I would say most are probably landing right around that 80,000 mark. My first job out in practice was at VetAgri Health Services, and I was right in that $75,000 range. Most, and that's just based off of the some of the surveys that have gone out within the profession. Most associates will kind of, after 5 years, would be in that $100,000 range, and then associates that are very experienced and about 10 years out in practice would be in that $120,000 range. Usually those associates will start to get put on different production bonuses. So whether that's a production of or a percentage of their production, a production salary kind of pro-sale basis would be around that 22%. So getting about 22% of the services that you're billing out. That's typically not including prescription refills or prescription products or dog food. Usually that percentage is a lot less just because the margins that veterinary practices make on those types of things are quite a bit lower than what the margin would be on services. If you're thinking about services, a vet making that kind of $85,000 range would essentially be making about that $45 to $50 per hour. Whereas the veterinary hospital would be billing out at about $200 an hour. That's kind of like an average rate that practices would try to aim for in billing out when we're talking about like consulting services and stuff like that. So that's why the margin is quite a bit different, and practices can afford to pay kind of in that 20 to 24%. I've never seen much higher than that. But there's a lot of different ways that you can certainly manage that. The benefits can vary greatly. It's pretty standard that health benefits are included in that, that there is vacation that is kind of in that 3 to 4 week range for starting veterinarians, and also the CE allowance, so the continuing education allowance, typically around that $1,500 to $3,000 range per year, plus about 5 days off for being able to take time off to go to that continuing education. And then there's certainly some other bonuses like emergency call fees. So it would not be uncommon for a veterinarian to have in their contract an emergency call fee bonus. So if you get called out in the middle of the night, typically your practice would charge around like $100 extra, just because that's kind of an emergency after hours fee. Most of the time the veterinarian would get all of that, and then about 50% of any of the things that they're doing. So let's say you're going out and doing a calving, it costs $200. You would get 50% of that, and then you would get your $100 emergency call fee. So it's usually enough to just make the veterinarian feel like it was worth, in quotes, getting out of bed and getting some sort of financial compensation for the drudgery, is drudgery a word, for the inconvenience of being on call.
Now for a tip from the top in the business world of veterinary practice. Today's tip from the top is from Dan Pink, who asked whether it's best to give or to receive the good news or the bad news first.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Pinkcast. Today I want to give you a tip from my upcoming book, When? The Scientific Secrets of Perfect Timing. How many times in your life have you said this? I've got some good news and some bad news. I've faced that situation all the time, and I've always wondered, should I give the good news before the bad, or should I let the happy follow the sad? Well, what I've always done myself is this. Good news first. Why? It's uncomfortable giving bad news, so I want to ease into it. Why else? I don't want people to think I'm a jerk by aggressively leading with all the negative. Most important of all is that I think that giving the good news first offers a cushion, a downy duvet of good feeling to insulate the coming hammer blow. But it turns out I've been doing it wrong. What the science tells us is this. When people are on the receiving end of good news and bad news, 4 out of 5 of us prefer getting the bad news first. Why is that? Because the science of timing in many, many dimensions is very clear on this point. Given a choice, human beings prefer endings that elevate. We prefer rising sequences to declining sequences. We prefer endings that have some uplift rather than endings that sag downward. So, Pinkcast viewers, the next time you're in that situation and you say, I've got some good news and some bad news. Give the bad news first. Follow it with the good news. You will create a happy ending for yourself and everyone else.
Now for my quick business tip for this episode. The fear-free concept founded by Marty Becker has probably become one of the single most transformative initiatives in the history of companion animal practice, with an estimated 33,000 animal healthcare professionals committed to becoming fear-free certified. Here's a clip in which Marty suggests what you need to do to usher the fear-free concept into your practice.
It's hard enough to change yourself, let alone somebody else. So change yourself first. I can tell you of multiple instances where one veterinary nurse went back and decided, I know the whole team's not involved with this, but I'm going to change what I can change. So if they had the opportunity, they'd tell people to bring pets in hungry. They would have food rewards that they bought on their own. They'd go buy a thing of turkey hot dogs and bring it in, or a can of easy cheese, cheddar, and bacon. They came in and ignored direct eye contact with the pet. They turned sideways so that they could reduce their profile. All the things you learn in Fear Free. And what happens is all of a sudden others start seeing it. God, that dog or cat was so aggressive before, and I had a great experience. Or the pet owner was raving about how the fact that her dog's tail wagged, this time it's the first time it's ever happened. And then what happens is it becomes a contagion. Another nurse will do it, a doctor will do it, then another doctor will do it. I actually saw one instance at Willowdale Animal Hospital in Toronto. There was about 175 people, 3 partners, 15 vets, maybe another 140 team members. One person started, Dr. Bloom, Jonathan Bloom, and then a nurse, and then another nurse, and then another nurse, and then a doctor. And next thing you know, everybody's involved in the fear-free bandwagon, and it's part and parcel. It involves every single thing from client service to medicine and things at Willowdale Animal Hospital. Change yourself first and watch others follow.
So what's my quick business tip? Well, it's this. Take a look at the Fear-Free website, which provides an extensive range of online and in-person education, all designed to reduce fear, anxiety and stress in pets. Making fear-free a fundamental component of your practice strategy would benefit your patients, your clients, your team and your business. So take that first step online now. You'll be very glad that you did. Well, that's about it. I'm John Sheridan, and this has been another video show from Veterinary Business. See you next time.